Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. I've got a ladder match for you guys today, a particularly high-ranking one as it happens. But before we get on to that, I'd just like to mention that when you log in, if you take a look at the top of the What's New page, you'll see a couple of links that Zepp has put there, and those will take you to a survey where you will be able to vote on which maps you would like to go into the ladder ranked pool. It's very good to do so, to exercise your democratic right. And you can also see there's another link just above it which will take you to the kind of trending survey results. They're not really results yet because, as I say, the poll hasn't finished, but do crack on with that, guys. Exercise your right to vote. Many engineers died so that you guys could have the right to vote. I know what we're talking about. Anyway, on to today's game. Like I say, it's going to be a high-ranking match between Voodoo and BC's Blackheart. It's going to take place on Twin Rivers. So let's head on over there and see how these guys are going to get on. So over here at the top right, we've got Voodoo. This guy needs literally no introduction. You've seen him time and again, and the reason for that is he is so high-ranked, and he plays very high-ranked people, and he has very entertaining games. And also, if anyone ever beats him, it's always quite a big deal. Not saying that's what's going to happen. You'll have to wait and see. But he's going first land. He's going to get a couple of P-gens attached to it, and then after that, he's going to be quite mysterious and not let us know what he's going to do because he hasn't queued anything else up yet. But let's take a look at his opponent down here. Also going UEF in the red corner, we've got BC's Blackheart. And this guy has come from nowhere, literally. Apparently, according to him, he hadn't played FA at all before June of last year, which I find just incredible. I can't get my head quite around that. He won an under 1800 tournament a couple of months ago. Basically, he got into it because his friend, The Dream, also of BC Clan, told him about this game, so he came along, started playing it, and he's just been rolling ever since. And he won that tourney, and that was under 1800 a few months back, and now he outranks Voodoo. Let me say that again. He outranks Voodoo. You take a look at the top right, you can see this is an over 2300 game, which you just don't see very often. So that is quite incredible. Very impressive indeed. Anyway, he's going first land, working on a bunch of power, and then he's going second air. Let's take a look at Voodoo, see if we can see what he's building. He's also going second air, so very similar builds off the bat for both these guys. It'll be quite interesting to see how this game evolves. UEF mirror matchups I generally find to be the more interesting of the mirror matchups because, as I say, you've got the lack of the direct fire experimental, and it's often quite tactical. The point defense creeps. Not everyone likes that. I personally love it, but yeah, we should see lots of that today. See how these guys crack on. But anyway, we've got a Lab, a Mech Marine, and a Snoop from Blackheart heading right down the middle. And it's a very obvious attack route to grab that expanding engineer, and that is why Voodoo has protected it. He's got a Snoop and a Striker there, so there will be no joy for that Mech Marine. In fact, it's unlikely he's ever going to see his family again as he runs away to the back of Voodoo's base up to the top of the map. Has just 23 or so hit points left. Very unlikely indeed he's going to return home to his family. You see a PD queued up there as well for Voodoo, so he's looking to secure that quite early on. And finally, Sniper gets a shell off. This little sniper gunner in that Striker tank gets a shell off and promptly dismantles that Mech Marine. Another unit went down. I think that was a Snoop, I'm right in saying, in the middle of Voodoo's base. So very light aggression from Blackheart initially, but nothing too serious. Voodoo is playing this very defensively. On the other hand, we're seeing a push to the south with 3 or so Strikers, but the first aircraft off the pad are interceptors, not bombers, so he's not looking to cause too much havoc. He's just started work on a bomber now after another Inti gets off the pad. But those Strikers come down the map. They could interrupt building on this PD if they hurry, and that would be very annoying indeed for Blackheart. Because, as I say, that goes down. That goes some way to securing this edge of the map. Strikers rolling in. As soon as they see this engineer, they're probably going to change target. Oh, that's not going to get finished. That was so close to getting finished. The reinforcing Striker following up the rear, manages to take that out. Now that that hasn't gone down, he needs to get another engineer over to do that. Could be very irritating indeed. Now it'd be very easy for units to come down and attack those 4 mass points. We've got a bomber coming in. There's a group of 4 engineers, and Voodoo will be well aware of it. Drops away a bomb, takes out 3 of them, nearly takes out 4. Probably isn't going to get another pass. He's got an interceptor on him now. Gets popped out of the sky. There he falls into the woods. Hopefully not something that a small child will find later and hurt himself on. The wreckage in the woods. I don't know what my mind does with these things. Anyway, moving on. But like I say, that PD not going down earlier, annoyance, but Blackheart has moved his commander up. He's grabbing this mass. If he starts to reinforce this area, he can cut it off without too much trouble, and then not getting that PD up at the rear won't cost him too much. Meanwhile, we've got some units from Voodoo skirting left just north of center, and we've actually got a transport from Voodoo as well. So Voodoo's the first to make a play for one of the islands. It's the bottom right island. He's going to make landfall with a whole bunch of engineers. Unless Blackheart hurries, doesn't look like there's going to be any fight over that at all. It's actually only dropping off a few. Voodoo sensibly not spending all those engineers on grabbing those. Good anticipatory skills. He's send them somewhere else. He's actually sending them. He's making a play for both islands simultaneously. So that transport's coming in, and then it's going to go up there. And for the moment, Blackheart hasn't got anything assigned to deal with that. So Voodoo looking to take an early grab of both islands. Now pursuing a little run-by attempt from Blackheart with his ACU. His timing is nice. If he could have got in a little bit earlier with some more forces, he could have taken out that engineer working on that PD. But Hero Engineer there should get some kind of a raise. Manages to reclaim on the move that striker, and now all that's left is a little bit of a snoop at the back. It's going hell for leather on that engineer with the little, is it 2 or 4 DPS coming off a snoop? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's terrible. But no joy from there. You can see the engineers made landfall from Voodoo, starting work immediately on a land factory. One striker still alive from that run-by we saw happening earlier. Nearly managed to take down a mass extractor down to 144 HP, but will not be successful. Turret down at the front here for Blackheart, right by his comms. Also got a factory in place. He's starting to funnel troops over on this side as well. You'd think the majority of troops, being as his ACU is over here, would be going this way to help secure it, especially since he knows Voodoo's ACU is over here. But he's decided against that, and I'm not going to second guess him because he's much, much better than me. And troops making their way into the back. This is quite interesting, this little run-by. Managed to crawl his way up the river, took out an engineer and a mass point, and obviously prevented the mass point he was working on. He must have had a read on that point defense because he's taking a wide berth around the back. Might be able to grab a mass point or two, although there's a lot of defensive strikers here from Voodoo that are closing this little group down. I think Blackheart's going to have too much success. He's definitely not going to get any joy now as he retreats over to the left-hand side of that rear plateau. But we're getting a little bit of a confrontation happening over here on the right of the map. Relatively even numbers. Concave almost looked like it was nicer for Blackheart, but you've got this little bit of a ridge in the way which prevents direct fire from this side unless they are literally sitting on the crest of this hill. Again, quite overwhelming numbers. Voodoo withdrew with his ACU a little bit. And if Blackheart could make a push now and stop these point defense going down, that would be a nice maneuver indeed. Of course, he'll be unaware, I imagine, there's anything going on, so he just wouldn't know it. That's why it's nice to have an interceptor in the area. He will be aware of the side islands by now, though, I imagine. He will be. So he realizes he's lost both of those. Might be why he's deciding to push a little bit now. A couple of engineers managed to get one auto turret up, was working on that final wall section before getting a Lobo shell to the face. It's exceptionally bad for your health. Highly carcinogenic. Finally, that PD does go down. There's a lot of Lobos in this mix for Blackheart, which I really do like. It's offering him great versatility on the field. But he's not going to make any headway here as the numbers are pretty even. And we've also got T2 on the field now for Voodoo. He's got to the front with his first Mongoose. Actually, it might be his second. There's one over here as well. And we're seeing some Triads go up as well for Voodoo, slightly further behind. So the pace of tech moving on, and we can also see a Skyboxer there for Blackheart, followed by a Mongoose of his own. So both these guys hitting tech 2 at almost simultaneous times. Say the margins at this level are so fine, the build orders are so well refined and calculated. Voodoo now steaming in with his troops on the right hand side of this map, has a Mongoose in there which is offering him some very nice range, but they don't last long at all when they're under that much fire. And Blackheart piles in with a portion of his forward troops to take out that Mongoose, and now needs to be careful. He's presenting a very weak line to superior numbers from Voodoo. But the Lobos in the mix as well are snagging a couple of units as they group up on the relief of this land over here. Blackheart's managed to get a Triad in place, so he's clearly got the T2 engineering suite in place for his commander. At the same time, we're seeing an engagement on the left-hand side. We'll try and keep track of these two wars, or these two battles, should I say, at the same time by going into split screen. Voodoo backing off slightly, still looking very even in numbers over on this right hand side, and although numbers on the left could possibly be pointing in Blackheart's favour, we've got a parashield in place for Voodoo which offers his troops some excellent protection, especially for this stage in the game. And Blackheart is withdrawing with some of his troops, trying to consolidate his forces slightly, perhaps slightly concerned with the amount of troops here on the right hand side. Now Voodoo looking to press over on the left hand side and at the right hand side simultaneously. Blackheart has made a nice decision though, I think, with these wall sections. It's going to slow down any forces from Voodoo. The only real aperture into the central annals of Blackheart's base is right through the central apertures here. He stopped building wall sections over on the left-hand side. Going to get another little engagement kicking up over here on the right. But we are seeing Stingers on the field. So Blackheart has made the transition to T2 air. At the same time, another fight kicking off over here on the right. These Triads of Blackheart are slowly creeping towards the river's edge. The more that happens, the closer he gets, the harder any kind of run-by is going to be. Voodoo's bringing in a lot of interceptors to try and deal with these Stingers. In turn, Blackheart comes to their assistance with his own interceptors. Lots of archers in the mix. It's a shame he doesn't have more skyboxers. Unbelievably, with the amount of interceptors that Voodoo has, or had, shall I say, he hasn't been able to deal with those Stingers. There are only 4 and they all seem to be operational. And now more coming in to reinforce as well. The troops are backed off and 4 units of build capacity go up in smoke as a result. Blackheart now under siege though, as troops on the right hand side of this map push forward from Voodoo. He has to bring his own units in, but he's got a lot of T2 in here now, Blackheart, so I don't think he's in any real danger for the moment. Look at all those Gatling bots well away on those troops as they are forced to retreat. A lot of mass on the field now in terms of reclaim. You can see engineers in the mix for both these guys, really. Although that worked out all right for Blackheart's ACU. Those Triads he'd constructed earlier have gone down, so he's had to get them rebuilding. And now Stinger's coming in again for Blackheart over on the left-hand side. Just annihilating that little forward group of units, and actually things looking very open on the left-hand side now for Blackheart if he wanted to attack. But we're seeing T3 land now, and that is why the mass and energy from Voodoo has been going into upgrading this factory. He's got Titans on the field, and if he can deal with these Stingers, that will give him an excellent advantage. You can see he's got some skyboxes in the area now, so those Stingers will be taking a lot of damage. They have to bug out as quickly as possible. They did manage to take down that Titan. They're going to work their way around the back of Voodoo's base. Voodoo hasn't got the mobility of superior air numbers. He's been forced to defend with mainly boxers. Zoom in over on the left while keeping a look at on the left hand screen with the Stingers. One Titan trying to hold back this portion of spam now. It's a lot of mass points going up. If you could grab some of these as a T2 one here, that would be a very nice target of opportunity. He's down to about 3 Stingers at the back here. Meanwhile, he's having some luck over here, Voodoo, with that Titan, forcing that spam backwards slightly. But now we have another issue for Voodoo as Blackheart dances backwards and forth with his Mongoose. He's using their extra range as an excellent tool for picking up a few extra kills off Voodoo's main forces. Stingers going away. Finally, that T2 mass point goes down. Swap these windows over slightly. Give you a better sounding game. Actually got some demolishers in the mix, and they're making their way up front for Voodoo. I'm going to slow this down slightly so we can take a quick look at ecos. Looks to be that Blackheart is sitting on around 110 mass with 21,000 reclaim. Voodoo, on the other hand, is on 70 odd mass with 19,000 reclaim. So he's ahead on ground tech for the moment, but he's behind on eco, and that's surprising when you take into account the fact that he's got the 2 side islands. But certainly, obviously, he's losing mass points left, right, and center thanks to this little air operation that Blackheart has launched. So things going very well indeed for him. Build capacity going down all over the shop. All 4 mass points down. Finally, those skyboxes are coming into play. But of course, the mobility of those gunships just able to scoot around. There's even some wall sections writing going down for Voodoo. I love it. But that's not going to get finished because that engineer is doomed. It's another T2 mass point. Voodoo can't afford to lose it, and he may well do that. He's trying to get some inties in to protect it, but he's just too light on the field in terms of air. There's another group of gunships down here you can see making his way south. In fact, Blackheart could do a lot worse than to take these off to the islands and start demolishing build capacity and mass points. It looks like that's what he might just do. But Voodoo finally looks to have got a decent number of interceptors together. Doesn't manage to take out that T2 mass point. Survives on 720 hit points, but the one above it went down. So it's a lot of success there from Blackheart. Things working out very nicely indeed. And Voodoo's got to think about strategy at this point and what he's going for. His T3 land maneuver was nice indeed. It effectively countered Blackheart's spam, but the problem is he now has a very large shaped air problem. Mass points going down all over the place on this rear island, or this bottom island I should say. Lots of interceptors coming in from Voodoo, trying to deal with it. I think he's still outnumbered. Partially focusing the gunships, partially focusing the interceptors. But it's not enough, and still this air tirade from Blackheart continues. And that bottom island has been completely wiped off the face of the map. Still more Stingers coming in to group up with the main body of them. Finally, Voodoo looks to be on the counter-offensive up at the top here. Moving in, taking out a T1 mass point, a few engineers, and pushing at the same time with his land units. In fact, that's quite a heavy group of units coming in on both sides for Voodoo. Could Blackheart potentially have oversubscribed the air? It's very possible indeed. There are skyboxes in the mix, so Stinger's going to be of limited use at this point. Shield's going to go down. We've got triads going down all over the shop. forward defense is in tatters, so finally it's Voodoo's turn to have some success. You can see Blackheart is moving those gunships to the northern island, wants to hit back. The only real place he can do it at the moment is at the top, and then he thinks better of it, pulls it back, recognizes there isn't any anti-air in this main body of troops. No skyboxes at all, no archers, so he's going to destroy those completely for no penalty. Voodoo is going to try and do something about it by bringing in a wave of interceptors, but there's obviously some pretty good intel in the area. Blackheart spots that they're coming in, gets his gunships behind his own interceptors. Now it's Blackheart's turn to push out a little bit, but he's not going to have too much success with these Titans, I shouldn't think. Voodoo just sitting here with demolishers in the rear, firing at range, but we've got some Percivals on the field now for Blackheart. Very nice indeed. It's going to help him deal with those Titans very effectively. And finally, could Voodoo have air control? It's possible. Looks to be a few interceptors out of fuel in the heart of those for Blackheart. They've been all over the map, so it's not too surprising. But Blackheart focusing quite heavily on air production, certainly doesn't want to relinquish that advantage that has worked so well for him for the last 5-10 minutes or so. Blackheart just retreating on the right. Looks like he may just be consolidating his forces to the same kind of area of the map. And to all intents and purposes, this game seems to have stabilized. Interesting decisions of Voodoo to send these interceptors in. Perhaps it is just working on scouting. He's prepared to lose a bunch of them. And he's actually going to come across all of the Stingers, of which there are many. Oh, that may have been what he was searching for rather than just arbitrarily scouting. But that's very unfortunate. See them going pop all over the place. Love the way they can shoot them when they're landed, but they can't shoot other ground units. Always thought that was strange. Guess it would make them too overpowered if they could shoot ground units, and too easy to avoid if the gunships could just land and not be shot at anymore, so there's no other real way of doing it. Sacrifice realism in order of balance always, I think, is the order of business for most things. And a couple of Voodoo's engineers just randomly bumping into one another for no particular reason, and it gets them both killed. This little forward base that worked so well for Blackheart initially finally goes down. Blackheart looking pretty safe for the moment under his shield. Lots of decent numbers of units ahead of him, friendly-wise. Actually going to make a little bit of a push on the left in response to this fire that's coming in on the right. Still a lot of Stingers here. See what the order of anti-air is like in that. You can see a few skyboxes. If you could primary those, you could get in and start making a real mess of them. The question is, how concerned is he about Voodoo's air force? I think he should be too concerned. It's relatively close in number to his own. Blackheart needs to get those Percivals up front with the rest of his units, so it's not to overextend. He's going to retreat a little bit. That looked like a pretty significant victory in the air, though, for Blackheart. Voodoo now down in numbers. Certainly at this point I would be bringing my gunships into play. They're off on some kind of sortie, and he's going back up here to try and deal with that. There's a lot of archers on the ground, though, expecting more gunship harass, and there's not really a great deal that can be gained. All of these mass points are still at T1. Voodoo not investing anything in them. And exactly the same to be said at the bottom as well. Let's take a look at how things are matched up. Actually, we'll do that in just a second. So pretty serious attack going on here from Voodoo. Fainted forward, but is then going to retreat slightly. There's a lot of units there for Blackheart, and extending there would not do him any favours at all. Whole bunch of engineers. Someone went the wrong way, didn't do their orienteering training, probably ran into the enemy forces. A few hero Percivals on the left, just holding the line. If we slow this right down, we'll take another look at these economies. 160 or so for Blackheart. Voodoo is on 95 and floating a lot of mass. So in terms of eco, Blackheart must be doing pretty well. His mass points, well, mostly T2 it would seem. Actually, he's got a bunch of T3 kicking around as well at the back. It's making all the difference. Blackheart has a very good grasp of eco mechanics, which is most of the battle in this game. Is if you learn how to be good at balancing the economy, the rest comes a lot easier. That's why I tend to say Germans are generally the best at this game, being as balancing economies is kind of their thing. But take a look. This game is very big in Germany, man. It might sound funny, but there's real demographics to back up what I'm saying. Let's have a look at the right in FAF sometime. Look how many German flags there are. In the daytime, of course. You probably wouldn't notice it if you're on late at night in the American time zone. But if you're on during the day, European times, just look at the amount of Germans. It's in their nature, this game. But anyway, back to this. We can see groups of both these guys' units now sort of working at each other, feinting backwards and forwards in their dance as they do. Nice composition though from Voodoo. I like what he's got here. He's got one or two demolishers in there. He's got a couple of parashields, Percivals in the mix, and all backed up with spam. I like what's going on there. I do like what I see. And over here on the left, we're seeing a little bit of a push now from Blackheart. Sort of even numbers of Percivals, so this looks like it's going to be very much a Pyrrhic victory for either of these guys if either manage to win. And Blackheart managed obviously to disable a lot of the stuff going on up here. Took out a couple of mass points. Archers are all gone. Still those horde of stingers still in commission. All different types of beat up though. Be nice to see a landing pad, what you call them, the air stations. God, what do you, I had a complete mind blank. What do we call them? Air staging facility. Oh my god, air staging facility. Be nice to see him build a couple of those. Get those stingers replaced. But now it looks like potentially Voodoo might have some numbers on the right. Blackheart is forced to reinforce from the left. Hasn't got a great deal in terms of PD on the ground as Blackheart, but he's got enough troops to do the job. Voodoo is forced back once again. Gunships flying in overhead. Going to go straight after those Percivals, but he underestimated the amount of anti-air that was in that mix. You can see a skyboxer there just got popped, and all of the weak stingers just got annihilated out of that group. So he's down to a very paltry, looks like 8 or so gunships. Knock that back up a notch. Voodoo has re-secured this upper section again, but still not ploughing any resources into building it up. It's funny, on the face of it, it kind of looks like Voodoo has got more stuff. It might just be in terms of build capacity, I don't know. He's still working on those wall sections over on the right-hand side. Wasn't going to be deterred from that. All's quiet again. What are these guys working on? What's syncing up all of their ecos? Not seeing any Fat Boys go down. There is a Fat Boy about to go down. Blackheart just going to work on a Sam first, and then he's going to start on it. Decent bunch of engineers near him. This game's past the 31 minute, which is pretty crazy on a map this size. We've got strap bombers coming in now as well from Voodoo. Gets one bomb off on that main group. Get impacted on one of the parashields. You can see not doing too healthy in terms of hit points on that shield, but Blackheart definitely with the numbers in terms of interceptors. There is T3 air. Well, obviously it's T3 air because we've seen the strap bomber, but there is T3 ASFs on the field now for Voodoo. And he's going to thin out all of the interceptors from Blackheart. It's going to give Voodoo decent amount of air control. He's still got a lot of units left. It was worth losing the few that he did. Now it's Blackheart's turn to be a little bit defensive at this point, I think. He started to produce his own ASFs back here. He's going to hold on to them. They're rallied to this little section here. He's going to hold on to them, keep them out of the fray, I guess, until he needs them. But he is going to alert Voodoo with that spy plane. He's obviously more concerned about what's going on. You see Voodoo is starting work on his own Fat Boy. He's got a lot of build capacity on it as well. It's going to be sapping a lot of resources. In terms of unit composition, it looks like Blackheart has evened up the odds. He's got a few parashields, like I say, of his own. Lots of Percivals in the mix. Lots of Percivals. That will ruin your day always. Skirt forward and start popping strikers. Their max range. Parashields absorb some of that damage. Voodoo just continues to retreat. Gotta like the look of Blackheart's chances here. He's got so many more Percys in this mix than Voodoo does. This could be where we see a bit of a breakaway here. Look at that. He's got so many of them. And still he continues. The majority of T1 spam has gone down for Blackheart. But those Percys still look pretty healthy in general. That Fat Boy is nearly done. 9,200 of 12,000 hit points. More parashields coming in to take the edge off that damage. But I don't think it's going to get done. If Blackheart continues to march on this trajectory, he must have seen it with that spy plane, which is why he's decided to make the move now. Goes straight in there and takes out the Fat Boy. That will not get completed. Some poor line manager somewhere is going to lose his job over that. Terrible decision. It's not Voodoo's fault. Perhaps built a little bit too far forward. Fat Boy is online for Blackheart in the meantime and moving forwards. A lot of build capacity, looking very vulnerable up here. Ravager's behind it, trying to get as much point defense as he can. We've got some Stingers on the field now as well for Voodoo, trying what he can to thin out those Percivals. Those Percivals are so very tanky indeed. So many hit points. And now Voodoo is in real trouble. Just doesn't have anything to deal with it. It's going to take a long time for these Stingers to get the better of these Percivals. And there won't be any more Stingers out either. There's one T1 air factory down here. The last T2 or slash that was a T3 as well. Certainly no broadswords going to be thrown into the mix. Voodoo says nice game. It definitely was. They're saying he should snipe him. Don't really know how he can. Can't do it with a strap bomber. Maybe if he's got some TML somewhere, but I don't see any. Voodoo's way back here. He's marching head on towards the Percivals. Voodoo's saying that Fat Boy was a bad idea. I kind of agree with him. Voodoo marches into a volley and promptly goes down. So, case in point, he's been playing since June last year, and he can do that to Voodoo. That guy is good. Very impressive indeed. I've got a lot of replays to cast, guys. I'm trying to get through them as quickly as I can. I really hope you enjoyed this one, but please don't let me let that stop you, should I say, from sending me more replays. I've got a lot of very high level games. There's been crazily good standard of play recently, so I've got tons of games that I can be getting on with, but I don't have that many good average Joes. And I know a lot of you will be saying, well, I've been sending in replays. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but a lot of the replays I get just really aren't that entertaining. They involve too much turtling, or they're too slow, too much laggy kind of build-ups of play, not much going on, and it makes it very difficult to cast. So don't let that deter you. Keep the replays coming in. I need to be, what's the word? I guess careful with what I put up. I want it still to be entertaining for people, but I don't want you guys to be discouraged either. So like I say, keep them coming in, guys. If you're not sure how to send them to me, just host them on Mediafire or Dropbox. It's much better for me rather than just giving me the replay. It means I don't have to fight. It means I also get to keep the replay. I try to catalogue as many of the games that I can that I cast, just for post-production purposes. There are other things that we can do later for trailers and stuff, which help to add to the community's digital footprint, shall we say, on YouTube. So anyway, guys, like I say, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, stay safe. This is Gyle signing out.